Hello everyone. In this video, we're gonna see the Book of Esther, the story from Bible. There are some of interesting characters in this book. We can see now Esther, Ahasuerus, Vashti, Mordecai, Haman, Zres, Bigthan, and Cheres. Let's move on to the story. King Ahasuerus ruled over the empire of the Medes and Persians, which stretched over 127 provinces. In the third year of his reign, he invited the nobles and princes to a feast, which lasted 180 days. After the feast, the king invited everyone at his palace in Susa to another feast which lasted 7 days. The queen's name was Vashti, and she also arranged a feast for her women. At the end of the seventh day, the king, who was drunk, ordered to fetch Queen Vashti so he could show off her beauty. But Queen refused to join him. The king was furious, had a discussion with your elders. His wise men advised him, saying, "The queen has not only insulted you, but everyone. She has set a bad example in not showing honor to her husband. The queen's title and estate was taken away from her, who would replace Vashti as queen." A search took place throughout the land for the most beautiful young women. They filtered out the girls from 127 countries and chose around 400 girls and put them in palace. Working in the palace was a Jew called Mordecai. Mordecai was one of the captives of King Nebuchadnezzar. Mordecai had a cousin named Esther, whom he had brought up because her parents had died. Mordecai advised her not to tell anyone she was a Jew. The girl undergone though 12 months of beauty treatments. She was satisfied with the allocated gifts. Esther was the one the king loved most, and she was crowned as queen. A little while later, Mordecai was guarding the king's gate and overheard two servants, Bigthan and Cheres, plotting against the king. The two plotters were arrested, found guilty, and hung on a tree. Their plot was recorded in the Chronicles of the Kings. The king promoted Haman above all the other princes to be the second most powerful man in the kingdom. However, Mordecai would not bow before Haman. "Why do you break the king's command and not bow down and honor Haman?" They reported. The question was asked by a man who was near to Mordecai. They reported the matter to Haman, who was furious to find Mordecai, the Jew, did not bow or revere him. Haman schemed to find a way to punish not only Mordecai but his people and the Jews also. Haman plotted to destroy all the Jews on the same day in the 12th month. Haman was the descendant of King Agag. Mordecai was the descendant of the tribe of Benjamin. Haman went to king and said, "There are people living in the land who have their own laws and obey them rather than the king's commands. A law must be passed so they can be destroyed. I will give 10,000 talents of silver to king's treasury to get this done." Haman made the scribe that on the 30th day of the 12th month the Jews were to be attacked and killed and their possessions taken as plunder. When Mordecai heard of Haman's plan to kill the Jews, he tore his clothes, but on sackcloth and ashes, and went round the city, wailing loudly and bitterly. When Esther heard about Mordecai's distress, she sent Hathach, one of the king's servants, with clothes for him to put on instead of the sackcloths. But he refused to put them on. He asked Hathach to tell Esther to go into the king's presence to beg for mercy and plead with him to save her people, the Jews. Anyone who approaches the king in a chamber without being summoned by the king is put to death, unless the king extends his golden scepter to them and spares their life. I have not seen been summoned by king for 30 days. Don't think became because you lived in the palace, you alone, all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this. Gather all the Jews in Susa to pray and fast for me. Don't eat for 3 days. I will pray and fast with you. Then I go to the king, even though he has not summoned me. If I die, die. On the third day, Esther put on royal robes and stood in the inner court of the palace in front of the king's hall. When the king saw her, he was pleased and held out her golden scepter to spare her life. What is your request? He asked. Even if you ask for up the half of the kingdom, I will give it to you. The king and Haman to a special banquet I have prepared. So the king and Haman went to the banquet Esther had prepared. What is your request? The king asked. I would like to invite the king and Haman to another banquet tomorrow. There I will answer the king's questions. Haman left the palace in the good mood. But when he saw that Mordecai had not bowed or shown him respect, he was full of rage. Haman went on his friends and Zeresh, his wife, and boasted to them about his great wealth, his many sons, and the ways the king had honored him. But I cannot be happy while Mordecai the Jew is sitting at the king's gate. His wife and friends had an idea, have a pole set up, and in the morning asked the king to have Mordecai impaled on it. The night on the king would not sleep, so he ordered the Book of Chronicles, his regent, to be brought in and read to him. What honor was given to Mordecai for doing this? The attendants replied, Nothing has been done. What should be done for the man the kings want to honor? Thinking that the king wanted to honor him. Put the man in the royal robe the king has on, and the horse the king has ridden. Then get the king's most noble prince to lead the horse through the city, proclaiming, This is what is done for the man the king delights to honor. Go at once and get the robe and horse, the king commanded, and then do as you suggested for Mordecai, the Jew, who sits at the gate. So Haman had a robe Mordecai put on the horse and led him through the city proclaiming, "This is what is done for the man in the king's corner. Since Mordecai the Jew has begun your downfall, you can't stand against him." They replied, "You will come to reign. What is it your request?" "My request is that you save my life and the lives of my people." Esther replied, "We are to be destroyed. Who has dared to threaten your life?" The king demanded to know, and angry replied Esther, "This were Haman." Haman started begging Esther to save his life. The king returned to find Haman falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. Guards were called to chase Haman. One of the king's attendants reported, "Haman has erected a pole by his house. He was planning to hang Mordecai on it. Impale Haman on it." The king ordered. Haman was led out to be executed. That day, the king gave Esther Haman's estate. Esther told the king she was related to Mordecai. The king gave Mordecai Haman's signet ring, and Esther appointed him to look after Haman's riches and possessions. "Write another decree in my name, and sealed with my signet ring." A new law was written giving the Jews the right to gather to and defend themselves if anyone attacked them. They could also plunder the properties of their enemy. In Susa, Haman's 10 sons and another 500 men who hated the Jews were destroyed. Haman has plotted and hashed a lot now as a poor to destroy the Jews, so the celebration was called the Feast of Purim. And if I think this video will helpful for you to understand your learning. And if you like this video, hit the like button and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. You can share this video to your friends and they can also enjoy this video. Thank you for watching. Keep supporting our channel.